Dio ci benedica e la Vergine ci protegga. Ci troviamo nei giardini dell'Associazione Catechistica Sacri, fondata da Bruno Cornacchiola nel 1948 a seguito dell'apparizione della Vergine della Rivelazione alle Tre Fontane.
E oggi abbiamo un ospite, ma in realtà non è un ospite, è un fratello carissimo che viene da una terra lontana, dall'Australia, e ve lo presento, è il fratello Maria Beniamino, Carl Lombardo, che è anche il presidente della Sacri dell'Australia, perché dovete sapere che c'è un'altra realtà dall'altra parte del mondo, catechistica, che va avanti da ormai tanti anni. Anzi, facciamo qualche domanda al presidente, così ci parla un pochino della storia di questa Sacri in Australia. Come è nata la Sacri in Australia?
Well, it's a long story, a very long story. Una storia che inizia, initiates in 1970s, early 1970s. It was as a result of a request from my grandmother to my grandfather to find a particular person to whom Our Lady appeared. And it was as a result of that quest, that promise, that initiated the process to get Sacri at Perth in Western Australia.
Who was your grandmother?
Who was she?
Yeah.
She was quite a religious person, a lot of faith. She inspired my father, very close to my father. He was very, very committed to her and would do pretty much anything for her. And whatever she requested, he would do.
So what did she request to your father? Sorry.
She requested to find this man that saw Our Lady in Rome, and she made him swear.
Swear, cioè un
Made him
giuramento.
to promise to find him and to bring him to Australia.
Oh, that's good.
So it was an interesting series of events that happened afterwards that culminated ultimately in Bruno Cornacchiola coming to Australia on 2 occasions and planting the seed of Sacri in Perth. And from there it flourished and we had groups formed, and it led to the fulfillment of not only something that my father promised himself to do, but also something that Our Lady wanted.
So why your grandmother asked your father? Was she sick maybe? Was she...
It's very hard because to understand what the circumstances were, but it was clear to her there was a need for this man to plant this seed in Australia,
Yeah.
for the benefit of Australia and for the benefit of that country and its people. And it started in 75 when he first came there in 1975, and it resulted in the church and a shrine being built over the late 70s through to the completion of the shrine in October or November 1998.
98, that's why.
Yeah.
In the first trip that your father did to Rome, he had also the meeting with the uncles in America.
Exactly.
What was the story?
My grandfather and my great uncles were together when they were like 6 or 7 years old, and they were never all together again for over 70 odd years. Each was scattered all over the globe. Who was in Albany, New York, who was in Australia. They finally all got together in 1973. Now I'm working from memory here. After some over 70 years, and they all met in an airport in United States.
Oh,
yes,
amazing! That's
yeah.
amazing.
It's amazing to not know or not be with your brothers for such a long time.
Such an emotional meeting.
Yes.
And then Bruno, your father met Bruno in Rome.
That's right. So after that meeting, my father, through his travel plans and the circumstances, was in Rome, and it was at the time, it was like hours before he was about to leave to come home, that he actually remembered his promise to his mother to find this person. And that resulted in a frantic attempt to try and find this man. Sometimes somewhat abrupt, with some priests and people forcing taxi drivers to take him to certain places with the little amount of time that he had. But it resulted in him actually meeting Bruno.
Yeah.
In this particular place.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when they came here, your father and your grandfather, what's happened?
When they came here, they met, they prayed together.
In the chapel? In the chapel here?
In the chapel here. My father said goodbye, and Bruno turned around and said, "We will see you soon." So...
Arrivederci in Italia. Cioè, one say goodbye, the other
yeah.
arrivederci. Who won? Who won?
Well, in the end, they saw each other again in 1975. So...
Amazing.
And that's when I first got to meet Bruno, in 1975.
How old were you?
I was 11 years old.
11, okay.
A lot more black hair.
And then what about the mission of Bruno in Australia? What's happening?
Well, Bruno specifically asked that at least 3 parishes asked for him to come there to spread catechism within those parishes. And he asked for that in writing.
Oh.
And prior to his attendance, and 3 parishes had asked for that. And as a result of that, groups were formed in Perth, and the rest is history. It actually then, with these groups, certain disciplines were put in place, the rosary, the meditations, and it continues to this day.
Yeah. After the coming of Bruno, I know that your father had a vow to accomplish, because when he first did the trip to Australia was by boat. And I remember he used to tell us that there was a terrible storm in the ocean in these days. I think the storm lasted like 3 days. And because there were a lot of fear among the people, he made a vow to the Virgin Mary, like, "Oh, Mother Mary, take me safe back home to Australia, whenever." and I will do something for you. He said that. So I remember that.
I definitely remember.
What did he say precisely?
The discussions there that we had on this one, and he had vowed or made a promise. The circumstances of which I don't know, but I know he made that promise that he was going to do something very special for the Virgin.
Which he did, because I was saying that when Bruno came, he offered a place of your property to build up something for the Virgin Mary.
See, that's precisely what happened. There was a lot of work that was put and devotion in relation to putting this church and the wonderful shrine that we have now in Perth, in Bullsbrook.
Was the first trip of Bruno in the second trip, the settle of the church?
The second trip was where Bruno marked where to put the shrine.
The shrine, okay.
And where the statue of Our Lady was to go. And that was fulfilled in November 1998.
98, wow.
On the opening of the shrine. And that's where the statue is to this day.
That's when a group of Sacri people, the president of Sacri Rome,
President of Sacri Rome,
Luigi,
Tito.
Brother Tito and Brother Silvano went to Australia.
That's correct. Yes.
At the beginning, at the very beginning.
And they attended, and it was Archbishop Hickey who was consecrated the shrine dedicated to Our Lady. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And do you have any advice for Sacri Rome, for us, for the young people?
Continue with the mission. The mission is essentially catechism, and the mission is about that discovery of the amazing saving grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. And the teachings.
You are a monitor of Sacri. It means he's a teacher in Sacri Catechism.
That's right. That's right.
For the English group. Can you speak Italian?
I'm trying to improve. I'm trying to work and improve my language. I can, but there's always room for improvement.
I remember that at the very beginning at the shrine of Australia, there wasn't water. So I think your father, Brother Joshua, Vince Lombardo, had the idea to dig for finding some water.
Precisely, yes.
What was it like?
It's very difficult if you know the area where the shrine and the church is now. Prior to establishing this infrastructure there, water is so important and it's very rare. And they tried on several occasions to try and find this water. On one particular site, they dug and they found water, but it was salt water. And at the time it was producing about, I think it was about 500 gallons an hour of salt water.
But you cannot drink that, no?
Can't drink it. So the gentleman who did the bore work said, look, no point, we need to abandon this particular site and we'll have to have another try elsewhere.
Okay. Which they did?
Well, in particular in relation to that bore, my father woke up in the middle of the night. Obviously something intervened within him. Our Lady, and there was a message in a dream for him that compelled him to get up at daybreak and to get to the site, get back to that particular site. On his way up there, he rang the guy that does the bore and said, you need to meet me there. And my father arrived with some other people, some friends, and he asked one of them, we need to measure, and we have to measure the actual depth of, it was a fixer, it was 55 or 65 feet. And he says, it has to be exactly that depth. We need to measure how far we are going to put this compressor down. So the guy that does the bore arrived, and he said to my father, why are we here? Why are we wasting our time with this particular bore? And my father said, humour me. We need to try once more. And he said the compressor needs to go down a specific distance. So they put it down to that particular distance. And this gentleman said to my father, we're wasting our time here. I've been doing this for 30 odd years. Let's just go and start a new bore elsewhere. My father insisted. So they sunk the compressor down to a certain distance, and all of a sudden, when he turned that compressor on, there was an explosion of water out of the bore.
That's it.
And they measured the content and the quality of the water. It was something like in excess of 3,000 gallons an hour of beautiful, fresh, clean water. So this man that did the bore went white as snow, started walking backwards and said, I don't know what's happened here. I don't know.
I think the inspiration of your father was right.
My father just said, you're an atheist, but you're still a child of our God. Come with me to get the statue and we'll place it here alongside.
The statue of the Virgin Mary?
Exactly.
But I know there is a picture taken at the exact moment of the sorting out of the water, which shows like this water forming the figure of Mother Mary with the child. And in the reflection of the water, there must be something like the face of Bruno. It's impressive.
It's interesting that you...
I saw that. You maybe see that if you go to the Shrine of Bosbrook in Australia, nearby Perth.
I saw the same image when I was down here with the brothers of Bruno. There's an actual picture there, it must be from the early 70s. It looks precisely like the image of in the actual reflection on the water that completely covered the surrounds. The water that came out covered like probably an acre of land around this particular bore. And the image of Bruno that was reflecting off this water was being produced by this man who was an atheist.
Can you believe?
And his arms were like this, obviously in disbelief. And in that reflection was an almost detailed image of Bruno's, the top part of from his hair upwards.
That's amazing.
Which is phenomenal.
So, when you go to the Shrine of Bosbrook, what do you feel? You feel something very special?
Well, you have to be there. As many pilgrims have been to there and seen, there's a great sense of inner peace that comes from that. Bruno did say it would become an island of faith, a place of spirituality,
Yeah,
which
it is.
is exactly what it is. And it continues today for not only Catholics, but we have Buddhists coming there, we have different people that attend, and the mother is actually embracing all of them.
Because there is the shrine with the church, but there is also the grotto. The grotto, which is very special because it's got a statue of the Virgin of the Revelation, high like a person, alta come una persona,
High, yeah.
high.
About the height of it. Are we talking about the one in the sanctuary?
The one in the sanctuary.
Yes, yeah, that's a full height statue of Our Lady, and it
Yeah.
was, if I remember correctly, it was actually blessed by Saint.
John Paul II.
II.
I was there in that day, 1997. The three statues were on the Sagrado of St. Peter Basilica, and the Pope blessed that. And they were sent to America, Philadelphia, to Turin, and the last one to Perth, Australia, where still is in the shrine. And many people receiving graces. Which are the most extraordinary graces that they received in Boosbrook?
I have the good fortune of actually seeing the little cards and little pieces of paper that are placed, not only requesting her intercession, but little cards of thanksgiving for gifts that they have received or graces that they've received as a result of them putting these petitions to Our Lady. And it's probably a good idea to start writing these things down for
A record.
a record.
Yeah.
A lot of them will never know how many graces have been granted, but we definitely see a lot of little letters of thank you.
That's a
that are
grace.
coming.
So if you want to know more, you are welcome to the Shrine of Boosbrook in Western Australia. And we say hello to our president of Sacri Australia, Brother Benjamin, wishing him to come often sooner to Sacri Rome, and saying hello to everybody. God bless us.
And the Blessed
and the Virgin protect us. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.